Rengoku, the Flame Hashira. Before he showed up, we knew little about each of the Hashiras, and he was one of them. But in the short screen time that Rengoku had, all of us developed a strong admiration for the Flame Hashira. He, contrary to what many thought, was not always a prodigy, and during his childhood was constantly belittled by his father, who, after the death of Rengoku's mother, became a very bitter man, even though he himself was the former Flame Hashira. So Rengoku, despite growing up in a completely dysfunctional family and having practically no source of inspiration, in fact, only criticism and discouragement, puts all of that aside and promises his brother that he will become his inspiration, thus becoming the Flame Hashira. Then, during the Mugen Train mission, they realize that there are several demons inside the train. So the Flame Hashira jumps right in to take everyone down. And as no one expected, Rengoku wipes out everyone, and the final villain, who is the one controlling the train, basically takes all the passengers hostage. And the only one who could protect all the passengers was Rengoku. So he gives Tanjiro and his group the mission to defeat the demon while he saves all the passengers, and that's exactly what happens. But after they defeat that demon, out of nowhere Upper Moon Akaza appears, simply the third strongest Upper Moon of them all, who immediately goes after Tanjiro to finish what was already almost over. But Rengoku doesn't let him and cuts off Akaza's arm. So after a brief exchange, the battle begins. Rengoku fights on equal footing with Akaza, managing to land several slashes on him, but Akaza's regeneration ability is unmatched. So after a long fight, Rengoku ends up getting hit and little by little starts losing his strength. And in the middle of the battle, Akaza keeps trying to convince Rengoku to become a demon. Just imagine Rengoku as a demon. Ha, my friend. And what about that cloak? But of course, the Flame Hashira never lets himself be shaken, and not for a moment did he consider surrendering and becoming a demon, unlike some others out there. Even though Rengoku is seriously wounded, he prepares his final and most powerful attack. Akaza then gets excited, and out of respect for Kyojuro's strength and courage, he also prepares a very powerful attack. The two clash, and Kyojuro manages to land several deadly blows on Akaza. But at the end of the fight we see that, unfortunately, Akaza's arm had pierced through Rengoku's body, practically sealing his victory and Rengoku's death. But even then, the Flame Hashira doesn't give up and runs his sword along Akaza's neck, starting to cut it little by little. Akaza tries to punch Rengoku to rip his head off, but Rengoku grabs his arm and holds on. Then the sun starts to rise. Rengoku keeps cutting Akaza's neck. The demon becomes desperate, thinking he's going to die. But in a moment of pure madness, he rips off both of his own arms just by pulling. Just imagine how much strength Rengoku was using for this guy to have to pull his arms so hard that he just tore them off. So unfortunately, the demon escapes and leaves Rengoku in an almost terminal state. Tanjiro arrives to try to save his friend, but unfortunately he wasn't in time, and it wouldn't have been possible anyway. Rengoku then gives his final speech to Tanjiro, believing that he will be the future of the Demon Slayers, telling Tanjiro that even in the toughest moments, he needs to ignite his own flame.